Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm doing a fun video. If you guys notice, my shelves are a little bare. One is because of this video, but also I'm about to move, so I'm actually gonna start packing up my books. So sad, but I needed to film this video because I'm packing up all of my books. The only books I'm not packing up as of now are books that I'm like interested in reading and could possibly go on my July TBR because I still need to film that. But all the books that I've read are going on there in boxes. The books that I don't plan on reading anytime soon is going in boxes. So I'm gonna have a freaking bare room. You guys are gonna see that. It's gonna be a nice big video for you guys. So stay tuned for that. But today's video, I am filming every book that I have rated 5 stars. If you guys hear a little bit of sniffing and stuff, my dog is next to me, and one is a loud breather, 2 is nosy, and he likes to get into stuff. So you'll probably be hearing him a little bit. Like right now, he's a puppy, so he is just a little bit all over the place as of right now. But yes, I'm going to be going through every single book that I have rated 5 stars in all of my life. So like there's some books that I read, there's like there's like 3 books that I read at least in like 7th grade. And then for the most part, everything else is 2022 and forward. So yeah, but I actually have a lot. Surprisingly, my main genres that I rate 5 star, I wonder if y'all can guess. Put it in the comments before I say it. What do you guys think my most rated 5 star genre is? I have 2 that have quite a bit, which surprised me. But let me know which ones you guys think have the most. And then yeah, so I have them separated in genres, so they're not separated at all through like when I read them, because quite honestly I don't remember, but they're separated through genre. And I do have, I think, 4 books that I read online. So I read on like my phone that I don't own that I rated 5 stars, so I'm gonna go through those first. So we have The Night Shift by Annie Crown. This book was really just a fun, cute romance. Like, it gave me what I needed to give. I needed something fun and quick and cute, and that's what that gave me. There was literally, honestly, like not even a plot to this book, and I didn't need one. It gave me what I needed. Then we had The Riley Effect by Nicole Marie. This book was also one that was just cute and quick, but also the main characters I feel like I related to a lot. They were in college. One of the girls was an animal science major, and I'm just like, that is literally me. The next ones I had were Reckless and Hopeless by Elsie Silver, which were the only 2 books out of that series that I rated 5 stars. And why are we not talking about Hopeless as much as we're talking about the other ones? Those 2, so good. I read both of those in one day. Like, so freaking good. The male main characters, no, like you just can't, like, no. So those 2 are my favorite of the series, and were the only books that I rated 5 stars out of that series, and I stand by that. So those were the books that I have like on here that I don't actually own that I rated 5 stars, and I would recommend each and every one of those. So go do that. And I think when I move, because I'm getting IKEA bookshelves, guys, I'm so freaking excited. But when we move, I'm getting better bookshelves. So I want to buy those books because those are 5-star reads. Like, I feel like I need to own them. So yeah, but now on to the books that I actually own that I have rated 5 stars. So like I said, these are not in like chronological order. They're in strictly genre order, and within that it's kind of just a free-for-all. The books are there how I put them on the ground, so make do with that what you will. The first book is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I read this book, I think in 7th grade was the first time I read this book. I read this book 2 other times since then. All 3 times were in school. This is one of my favorite books of all time. It's just so good, and the fact that she wrote this, I think she was 15 when she wrote this, is actually insane. It's just so good. So this is a 5-star. This will always be a 5-star, even though I think no matter what, it's going to be a 5-star. It's just so good. It is talking about different types of, what's the word? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Social classes, because you're talking about the socias and the, not the greases. Oh no, the greasers. For some reason, I think of greasers and I think of Bully. You guys know that game? That's what I think of. But this is so good, and one of the only books that I think kids actually enjoy reading in school, and I mean rightfully so. The next book I have is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Guys, I don't remember, okay, I remember this book, but I really don't remember this book because I've read it fully through once, and then I've tried to read it again like 3 times, and I always lose my spot. Like, I never have a bookmark, so I never like finish it again. But I know when I first read this was a 5-star. I love the movie, so I mean, do I need to say anything else? I think everyone knows about The Color Purple though, so good. And then I have Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. As you can see, these two very well-worn books. I've had these books for so long. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. This was actually my mom's book, and I probably should not have read it at the age that I read it. I don't know. This was also really hard for me to read at the age that I read it. I was really young when I read this book because it was the only book we had in the house, and I wanted to read. Okay, I wanted to read, and so I read this book, and I think this is a very powerful book. Like I said, I don't really remember anything about it because I was like, this book I feel like I read, it was like before 2017, so it was pretty early on. I don't remember a thing about this book, but I do just remember this book being really good. So there's that. The next book is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This was in one of the videos that I posted. It was in reading books that were turned into like either movies or series. This was turned into a series. I watched the first season. I have not watched any other season, but I think I will continue. Like, it was pretty good. But The Handmaid's Tale, I loved this book. It was so good, and I don't even really know why I really liked this book as much as I did, but I think it's because there's so many, like, not necessarily parallels, but low-key parallels, like how we're living now. It was just really good, and I really enjoy this, and I think all women should read this book. So good. It talks a lot about like the not the economy, but kind of like the world. It talks a lot about the world and social issues. The next book I have is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I feel like this is everybody else's least favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I don't know why, but me personally, I love a book about rich people drama, and that is what Taylor gives me every single time. Well, at least with her like historical fictions, she gives you rich people drama, you know, and that is what this book was, and I ate it up, y'all. I ate it up. I loved this book. It was so good, and I think I really just liked the characters in this book. All of her characters show up in each of her books, but I think I really just liked hearing about like the Riva family the most. So I really enjoyed this. I was really happy when McRiva popped up in The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I was like, I know that guy. I know that guy. I was so excited. So this is my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I feel like this needs more hype. I feel like this needs as much hype as her other books get. Then we have yet another Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and that is Carrie Soto is Back. This book made me want to play tennis. I have never had that thought a day in my life, but when I read this book, I was like, yeah, I could go play tennis right now. I didn't, but I had the thought, and the fact that it made me have the thought was enough, you know? So I really like this. This is about a tennis player, a female tennis player coming out of retirement because she doesn't want someone to break her record. Once again, rich people drama. It was just so good. There's also a lot of family issues, honestly, in all of her books now that I'm thinking about it, but I think this one was very prevalent because her dad is her coach. So Loved it. The next book I have was also in a video, and that is Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukapka. This book is a true crime book, I guess you can say. Well, no, it is a true crime book, but it talked a lot about like mental struggles and how that then affects every other choice you make in your life. This book just has such a special place in my heart. As a psych major, you guys are probably so confused. You're probably like, why is she talking about being a psych major and an animal science major? Because technically I'm both, so don't get confused. But like, it made my heart happy to like read this book. It's a case study, and I just loved it. It was so good. The next book I have is Almond by Won Pyung-chun. This is another book that I have talked so much about. I don't think this was in a video. It wasn't a wrap-up, but it wasn't in like a vlog. This book was so good. I read this book solely because Namjoon of BTS, who is back by the way, recommended it and was reading it. So I was like, well, of course I have to do that. So I did that, and one of my favorite books of all time talks about a little boy with a brain condition called alexithymia, which basically it's hard for him to like feel emotions, and kind of seeing this kid. If you guys can hear that outside, my window is open. I'm gonna close it actually, but it's not closed right now, so you can probably hear cars going by. But we're kind of like watching this boy go through his life with this brain condition and seeing all of the stuff that goes on within him, and I thought it was really nice. A really good book if you are learning about emotions, if you want to understand people and their emotions. Great book. Okay, we had a little bit of a intermission, but we're back. The next book is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This book I bought before we moved to Texas, which was 3 years ago, and I bought it like 2 years before I moved to Texas. So I've had this book for like 5 years, right? And it sat on my shelf for like 4 years, because I read this last, I don't remember when, but I want to say it was like last June, maybe. It was like in the summer months of last year. Sat on my shelf until then. My friend told me to read it, and it was a 5-star. It was so good, and I was so mad at myself because like, how had I not read this book? And then this book, I read them. I mean, I watched the movie so many times. Loved the movie. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies. I don't really have favorite movies. That's a lie. I do have some favorite movies, but like, this was a movie that I watched so many times and loved the movie each time, and I had the book and I didn't watch it, because my thing is like, well, what if I read the book and it makes me not like the movie, you know? Like, I was scared. But I love this book. So good. I will not be reading Ready Player 2 because I have not heard good things about it, and I will not let it taint my thoughts about this book. So 5-star. So good. Sci-fi, dystopian. You're in like a game world. So many pop culture references. So if y'all like that, read this. So good. So good. The next book I like actually like just read. I finished it on Saturday, I want to say. And it's going to be in a video that you guys see before this one. The video right before this one. And that is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This could very much do with the fact that this is just a great book. It could also do with the fact that there is a lot of things, grief, loss, emotional wise, that is going on in my life. That could be why I rated this book 5 stars, or it could just be because it, like I said, it's a good book. But this was a 5-star. If you guys do not know the story of The Fault in Our Stars, we are following 2 kids with cancer. Yeah, we're following 2 kids with cancer, and they're kind of like trying to figure out love within that, like relationships within that, and it's such a heartbreaking story, but also just really beautiful, just being able to watch these 2 characters like figure out their emotions and go through all of that with what they go through. So good. John Green, we know who that man is. We know he can write. A Little in Love by Susan D. Fletcher. This was one of the books I think that I read in like 6th or 7th grade. Once again, don't remember a thing about this book. I just know, like, I look at this book and like feel like a physical reaction to this book. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so good. Don't remember like not even a single word from this book. Like, I remember like our main character is like, no, her name's not even Ophelia. It's Eponine. I don't remember anything from this book. I just know that whenever I look at this book, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so good. But I cannot tell you what happened in this book. I just know that it was a 5-star and it was so good. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because that's all I can tell you. The next book I read is Dear Martin, or not the next book I read. The next book I have is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This book, our main character is writing letters to Martin Luther King. I think that in its own is very powerful. This was a very good book. I read this in 10th grade. Me and my friend read this together for school. So good. Like Angie Thomas said, a must read. You must read this book. So good. And there's a sequel to that book called Dear Justice. That one's also really good. Now we're going into like my favorite authors. My favorite authors. I think if you guys have watched this channel for a little bit, if you guys have seen anything from me, you guys will know who my favorite authors are. It's no secret. I talk about them quite a lot on this channel. The first author we're going to do just came out with a book recently, and that book is, they both just came out with a book recently. Crazy. Anyway, the one I'm gonna show first is Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. This is the first book in the like Infinity Cycle trilogy. I think that's what it's called. But I've only read this one because with Adam Silvera books, I need to take breaks because I will be depressed. So I need to take breaks, and I read this one, I think, I don't remember when I read it. I don't remember when I read it, guys. I really don't. But I do remember that this was a 5-star, and I do remember saying that Adam Silvera really knows how to make me like and feel for a character that is so unbearable. There's not Emil. What was his brother's name? Brighton. You. Unbearable. But I get it. But I really like this book. This was his kind of like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, his first like toe dip into like actual fantasy. So I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Super quick reads as always for Adam Silvera, and I really loved our characters. I loved the like concept. It was just chef's kiss. And then we have a series by him. The other books I have read by him, I don't have the first one with me, but that one was a 5-star, best believe. I have the Death Cast series. I can't even say trilogy because it's not done. So I have the first one, which I don't like have with me, but then I have the other two, which is The First to Die at the End and The Survivor Wants to Die at the End. We'll talk about this one first, The First to Die at the End, which is the second book in the series. I cried, guys. I cried, like ugly cried. I cried at all of these books, but this one I think I cried the most at this book, just because, guys, if you know the story of Valentino and Orion, you know how sad it is, because our main character in this book, well, you learn it in the first chapter, Valentino is the very first Decker. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, this book just has a really special place in my heart. It was, I think, the saddest book out of the series. It's just I don't have the words. It was just so amazingly amazing, that book and those characters and that story. Yeah. The next book we have, The Survivor Wants to Die at the End. I finished this not too long ago, honestly. I think maybe a week ago is when I finished this book. This book is also so sad. This book is very sad in different ways, though, for me. So The Survivor Wants to Die at the End, I feel like the title is pretty self-explanatory. This ending, did not make me cry. The ending made me stare at a wall for 30 minutes. That's what it made me do. But like throughout this book, I did cry just because this book hit a little bit too close to home. So our main character, both of them honestly, but basically primarily our main character Paz suffers from like a lot of mental struggles, and he is very am I allowed to say this on, he doesn't like himself, and he tries to do things about that. Let's say that, because I don't know if I can say the word on YouTube. He doesn't like himself, and he tries to do things about that. He tries to solve those problems that he has with himself, and it hits close to home for me, and I think because I connected with the character so much in so many different ways. Like, did you write a book about me? This book was a 5-star, because of the sheer fact that like it's almost as if I was reading a book about myself. And if a book can make me feel like I'm reading a book about myself, I think that it is a powerful book, but it's also so subjective to me. So yeah, Paz and Alano, my hearts. So that was my Adam Silvera. I've read 4 books by him. All 4 have been 5 stars. I just don't have They Both Die at the End, which was also a 5-star. And then I have my other shrine of books, Frederick Bachman. I have 5 of his books to talk to you guys about. So we have his 2 novellas, which most people, I feel like you really only read his novellas if you're like a diehard fan of Frederick Bachman. And what am I? A diehard fan of Frederick Bachman. So we have The Deal of a Lifetime. This book, all of his books are really sad. In fact, I think these are his saddest books, and they're his shortest books. So The Deal of a Lifetime is following this man who is sick. He's low-key dying. And in order to kind of like, he wants to save this little girl's life, and he has a really estranged, not very good relationship with his son, and we're kind of just going through that and seeing his thoughts on how he handled the situation with his son, but also his son's thoughts and how his son feels about it. And I mean, it's sad because the man is dying, so I mean, yeah. And then we have And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer, which dare I say, his saddest book to date. Maybe, because this book was so sad. You're following this grandfather who once again is dying, and he is like talking to his grandson, right? And like when I say he's dying, like he's like really close. Every morning the way home gets longer and longer. So I feel like if I say this, it's gonna be a spoiler, but I mean, it's 67 pages. Anything could be a spoiler. When they say the way home gets longer and longer, it's mean like him coming back to like the real world, like him like waking up for another day. So very sad, devastating. We're getting the points of view of his son and his grandson. Like, that's enough of that. We then have a trilogy. I haven't read the last book because I started it in March and then some things happened, so I didn't finish it in March, and I don't know when I'm gonna get back to that because it's a very sad book. But we have the first 2 of the Beartown trilogy. I feel like I was talking about Beartown before anybody else was talking about Beartown. Ignore that. But I have been a Frederick Bachman fan since 2022, before he got all the hype that he has now. I've been a fan, okay? Beartown and Us Against You. Cried at both of these books. So sad. But have introduced me to my favorite characters of all time. Benji. Love Benji. Both of these books are following this town called Beartown, and this hockey team, and the kids on this hockey team, the parents and the families of the kids on this hockey team. And there is a incident that happens that kind of like rocks everybody, rocks the whole town. And in this book we're kind of just like focusing on the aftermath and what happens after that situation. And let me tell you, it's a deep one. It's a deep one. All of his books are very deep. Very much check your trigger warnings before you read his books, but I will always recommend them if you feel like you can handle them, because they are some of the best things I've ever seen in my life. So there's that. And then A Man Called Ove, which is the very first book that I read by Frederick Bachman in 2022, in August of 2022. Like, that is literally 3 years ago. That was so long ago. This was the very first book I read by him. Will always have a special place in my heart. I need to reread this book. I know it's gonna be 5-star, but I have annotated all of his other books, so I want to reread this one and annotate this one. And yeah, but we're following this grumpy old man who has neighbors, a grumpy old man who is also trying to deal with him not liking his life. And he has these neighbors that move in next to him, and we kind of just see how they change him and everything. The ending, devastating. But yeah, those are my two favorite authors. Those are the books by them that I have rated 5 stars, aka all the books I have read by them are rated 5 stars. Now we're gonna go into our fantasy section, which I think is the shortest amount, has the smallest amount of books in it, because I got into fantasy at the end of 2023, because I was never really that much of like a fantasy girly. Like, I liked Percy Jackson. I was never like a huge fan of Harry Potter, but I've read Harry Potter, but like I was never like a diehard fantasy girl, right? But then I read Fourth Wing in 2023, which I guess we can start with that. Fourth Wing was the first fantasy book that I read that was like not Harry Potter or Percy Jackson, and this was a 5-star. I'm not gonna lie. It was a 5-star solely because of Zayden Morrison. What can I say? I see Zayden and I give the book a 5-star. I mean, like, that's not true, because you see this book is not off of the shelf. That book was not a 5-star. Fourth Wing though, 5-star. 5 freaking stars. So good. I really liked seeing dragons. I really love a dragon, guys. Apparently I love a dragon, and I loved the dragons in here. I loved Zayden. Honestly, Violet did annoy me, but not enough for me to not rate this book a 5-star, because once again there was Zayden. But I loved this book. Was my introduction into fantasy, romantasy, and I'm very happy I read this book. And then I originally rated Iron Flame a 5-star, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I rated Iron Flame a 5-star just because it was a part of the series. That book was not a 5-star. In fact, I think that book might be like a 3. Like, I really did not like it. I felt like that book was a romance book with a splash of fantasy. I did not like it. If I'm going to read a romantasy book, I would definitely like it to be more fantasy than romance. But that's me, because I know a lot of people loved the second book because of the amount of romance that was in it. Not I, though. This third book, though, Onyx Storm, this was a 5-star. I know this got a lot of mixed reviews. This one got a lot of mixed reviews. I loved this book. I felt like there was so much more fantasy happening in this book. We finally got like more of what I was wanting, which was the dragons and the fantasy and the high stakes. Like, we got that in this book, and we didn't get as much romance, which is why I think a lot of people are not liking this book. But guys, it's a fantasy series. I know, crazy, but I loved this book. The ending, I'm upset. That's all I need to say. I'm upset. Now we have another book that is all of the fantasy books I read are part of the series. I don't think I have, there's a couple up here that are not a part of series, but for the most part every fantasy book I have is a part of a series, because it's really hard to find a fantasy book that's not a part of the series. But Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, this is a 5-star for me. I loved this book. I just feel like for what it was, first of all, it didn't read as a young adult. It didn't read like a young adult to me. Two, there was so much high stakes for it being a romantasy, but it was also very romantic despite our characters not being with each other for majority of the book. I really loved this. I loved the story of Iris and Roman, and I just loved like the history of what was going on, of the war and everything, her relationship with her brother, what caused her to go up front, like just everything. Loved this book. And then Ruthless Vow was a 4.75, so it was really good. It just had so much more romance than I was expecting it to have, but that one was also really good. Just wasn't a 5-star. And then we have 2 books in another series. Those books are one, Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This was a 5-star for me. I never had heard of Brandon Sanderson or Mistborn before my manager at work told me to read it, and then I read it and I was like, wait a second, and I have a little bit of a shrine of him. But this one was a 5-star. Vin annoyed me in this book, but I just feel like I just really like the magic system. I really like how Brandon Sanderson writes, and that Sanderlanche part 5 and beyond, yep, so many things happened and I really loved it. And then I didn't read the second one 5 stars. I think I rated it a 4.5. It was once again really high. Just a lot of politics. It was just very repetitive to me. And then The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, which is the 3rd book in that series. I can't really talk too much about it, but I feel like this was very much a good resolution and a good ending to the series. And so it gave me what I wanted. It gave me what I wanted, what I needed. And I was very much satisfied. And now I have Era 2, so that's another 4 books to add, so that's gonna be fun. The next little genre I think is my second lowest genre, and that is thrillers. Thrillers used to be my very favorite like genre, and then romance kind of took over, but I think now like thrillers is taking its spot back. But I'm very picky about my thrillers. Very picky about my thrillers and my suspenses and my mysteries. I'm very picky, which is why this stack is so small, because though I do read a good amount of them, I'm very picky. And if I don't like them, I will let you know. So, oh, I didn't grab it. I have The Only One Left in my brother's room. That is my all-time favorite Riley Sager book. So good. Not going to tell you anything about it because it's a thriller. I'm honestly not going to tell you anything about any of these books because it would be spoilers and I would hate to do that. But The Only One Left by Riley Sager, so good. Then we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is, I think, more like a mystery, and it's a young adult. It was really good. Once again, this is a part of a trilogy. I'm not going to tell you anything that happens, but I read this book in a day. So do with that what you will. Super easy to get through. Then I have The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This was one of the ones I read once I like really started not filming really. I read this when I was getting back into reading. I read this in 2023. Literally at my college orientation, so that's a fun fact. But at that point I wasn't really reading mystery thrillers at that point. But then I read this and I was like, wait a second, because why is it kind of good? Like, why is it kind of eating? So I loved this, and I have the other 2 books, but like this one I feel like is just good on its own, and I don't know how the other 2 hold up, but we have that. Then this one is not really like a thriller, but it's like a crime fiction, I think is what they say, is Billy Summers by Stephen King. I'm sure y'all have heard about Billy Summers by Stephen King. So good. so very different from his other books, but like still so very amazing. You are following a hitman essentially, and yeah, you're following his life, and it is a character study. You are following the same character throughout the entire time. You're following his life, and it is very interesting, and I gave it 5 stars, and I, like every other person who has read this book, would recommend it. Oh no! It by Stephen King. I don't think I need to explain myself. You probably, if you haven't read the book, you've watched the movie. Either of them, any of them, also good. It chapter 2, not so much, but it, like chapter 1, and then the original It, so good. I'm a horror movie lover. Not me just like throwing things, like I need to stop. I'm a horror movie lover as well as a horror thriller book lover, and this one is just so good. I actually read this like so long ago, like it was like actually really long ago when I read this book. Like I read it before I moved to Texas. I got it on my birthday one time. I got it on my phone, but I just recently bought it like last year, I want to say. But I had it on my phone, and I read it on my phone for a very long time. But like, so amazing. It will probably forever be one of my favorite books, like known to man. And then we have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This was also really good, and I read this like very, I was gonna say unassumingly. I read this randomly. I didn't know anything about the book. I just saw it and I was like, oh, is it about a writer? Maybe, because you know, The Last Word, I'm a reader. I like to read the words that authors write. That's usually what happens. And so I read this book and I was like, first of all, I didn't get not a single plot twist in this book. It was crazy. There was just so much going on, but he did it in such a good way, and I'm just like, he knows what he's doing. But apparently, a little bit of a scary note about this book. Apparently, he wrote this book after the book he published before this, which I think was No Exit, which I actually did not like at all. I think he wrote this book after that, and if you guys know what this book is about, that's a little scary. So there's that. My thing keeps going in and out, so I apologize for that. And then the next book, which I read recently, which is also in a reading blog, is The Fury by Alice McLadies. Gave this book a 5 star. It was one of the easiest 5 stars I've ever given in my life. So easy, so good. It's so good. Oh my gosh. Like, once again, I can't tell you anything about this, but you're following the same characters throughout the entire book, and the narrator is unreliable. I will say that. If you guys don't like an unreliable narrator, maybe don't read this book. But I usually don't like an unreliable narrator, but Alex McLadies knows how to do that. So this was a 5 star. So good. I'm still very confused as to what. Oh, never mind. I got it. That's a 5 star though. So those are the mystery thriller horror books that I've read 5 stars. Now we're gonna go into probably the biggest section, and that is a romance, because honestly that's the genre I read the most of. But we're not gonna go through those and see the books I rated 5 stars for those, because we have quite a few of those. So the first book that I'm gonna show you, the first 3 books are by the same author, which I have grown to really love her and her books, and that is Mariana Zapata. So we have All Roads Lead Here, which is the most recent one of her books that I've read. This book is a single dad trope. We know how I feel about a single dad trope. A single parent trope, just give me that, and it's probably going to be a 5 star. I'm just going to be honest. It's probably going to be a 5 star if they're a single dad or a single mom. If they're a single parent, I'm there. And he was a single parent, and I was there, and I was sad, and I loved Aurora. I loved Amos. Add me on Snapchat. You guys get it? Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, this was a 5 star. So good. Then Culty. This was the very first Mariana Zapata book I read. I read this in 2023. 2023 is when I read this book. And at that point, this was the longest romance book I've read. Baby, we have surpassed that. But this really, at that point, I came to Texas and soccer is very big here. Honestly, sports in general are pretty big here. But I also had a friend who was really, really into soccer. And so I got pretty into soccer. So I was really excited to read this. In fact, they told me to read this book. So I got very into soccer, and I still enjoy soccer. I don't really watch soccer unless it's like the World Cup. But like I'm not really like into soccer like that. But this was very interesting because you're really getting the ins and outs. I feel like out of all of her books, this is the one that like gives the most about the sport. So I really enjoyed this. This was really good. I think now as I'm like reading her books, I think I need to reread this one. I don't think this one is my favorite anymore. I need to reread it. But that one's a 5-star. And then my ultimate favorite Mariana Zapata book is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This is a football romance, and I come from a football family. If I know something about a sport, it's football. I do. So I really enjoyed this, and we don't really get that much like actual football in this book, but we are following a player with an injury. So that hit a little close to home because I have brothers who had a lot of injuries when playing football. So 5-star, so good. My favorite of her books. Very deep, more than just like injuries in football and an assistant. So good. Next, we had another slow burn, and that was Things We Had from the Light by Lucy Score. This was the only 5-star in that series that I gave. This was my favorite of the series, and I feel like this is a lot of people's least favorite of the series. I can't even tell you why this is my favorite. I think I really liked Nash. I really liked him. And I also really, really, really liked that like little mystery element of the book. So this was my absolute favorite of the series, and I think that a lot of people just hate on this book, and I don't understand why. Like, why are we hating on that? I don't know. Then now we're getting into like just they're all regular romances, but like regular sized romances. Now next we have 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I read this very close to my birthday 2 years ago, and I really liked it. It was really good. I think that this is also if you guys will kind of see a pattern, I really like deeper romances. And this book I feel like was very deep, even though we are kind of just following people. Like, we're following them in a week. Like, in a literal week. And for some people that may seem like, girl, no. But I really liked this. I felt like it was so raw, and it's a black love story, which I don't think we really see a lot of. So this will forever be one of my favorite romance books. So good. And also they came out with another T. Williams came out with another book called Audrey and Bash's Adventure. Audrey and Bash's something, which is following Audrey, which is her daughter in this book. So I'm excited to read that. The next two books are a young adult romance series, and as much as I hate to say this, I fear the series is over, and that is XOXO and ASAP by Axio. These are following teenagers. They are in school, but the main male characters are both, like, they're in this K-pop group called XOXO. So we're following them, and in XOXO we're following Jaewoo, who is in this K-pop band, and Jenny, who likes to play the cello, and she is an exchange student. She ends up going, like, they meet one day, but then she ends up going and transferring to a school in Seoul. So that's that. But I think it's quite obvious at this point. I'm a K-pop girl, and I am kind of really in the know with how it is with relationships and K-pop idols and all of that. I think it's insane. I actually think it's crazy and stupid, but like I can't do anything about that. But we are seeing a lot of that in this book. And then we have ASAP by Axio, who is following Nathaniel, who is in XOXO, and he kind of has this scandal, because that is very common in K-pop, because they don't want these men to do anything. They don't want these men to do anything. They don't want these girls to do anything. They think they're children, but that's besides the point. He's in the scandal, and it's the second chance romance. So cute, so cute. Both of them were 5 stars, and I love those books with all my heart. And then we have Call Me by Your Name by Andre Asiman. As much as I love this book, I'm also traumatized by this book, and I will never ever ever watch the movie, because if you know, you know that peach scene, traumatizing. I will never do it. But this book is about 2 men, well, a man and a boy. That sounds wrong. That sounds wrong. There is an age gap in this though. It is about 2 boys, and I think it takes place in Italy, I want to say. Yeah, Italy. It's a summer book. Very deep, very raw, very emotional. Yeah. So next, we have one of my favorite books in the entire world. We know how I feel about Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I read this book in 2023. Do we sense? No, it wasn't. That was 2022. I read this book in 2022. Oh my gosh. And I still think about this book all the time. I love the movie. They did so good with that movie, y'all. So good. Love that. But Red, White, and Royal Blue is about the son of the president of the United States, who is a lady. I feel like I worded that weirdly. And then the Prince of England. And they're 2 males. So I mean, like, that can't go right. Like, there's gonna be something there, you know? It was just so good. Very political. And I remember seeing people be like, this book was like too political. Like, there was so much politics in this book. Yeah, I'm gonna let my silence do the talking on that one. 5 star. The romance was so cute. The banter so cute. The story so cute. Dare I say more? Need I say more? No, I don't need to. Then we have books that are part of a series once again. They're only the last 3, but the last 3 are my favorite 3, and that is the last 3 in the Love Light series by B.K. Borison. I'm so sad that this is over. I read this one in a reading vlog. These 2 I don't think were in reading vlogs, but Business Casual was in a reading vlog. And I was very upset, and I talked about it to you guys. I sure did talk about that. But I loved these books. This one is Second Chance Romance. They were like in a one-night stand. He has tattoos. That's enough for me. Like, that was all I needed to hear. So good. And then Mixed Signals, Fake Dating, Caleb Alvarez. Yeah. Caleb Alvarez, Layla Baker. Need I say more? I don't think so. And then Business Casual. Business Casual, my love, is Nova, who is Beckett, who is in the second book, Beckett's sister. And then we have Charlie. I don't know why that slipped my mind. Who is Stella, who was in the first book, her half-brother. Guys, I don't even know what this would count as. They were friends, but like, were they low-key enemies? No, I don't think they were enemies. They were friends though, like friends to lovers, flirtations to lovers. She owns a tattoo studio. Guys. Like, I don't, like, what? They were also low-key friends with benefits. Like, guys, I don't, like, I don't have the words for that series. It's so good. The way that last book wrapped up, chef's kiss. Like I do not need to say anything more. I can't say anything more. I don't have the words. But then we have Daydream by, I was supposed to say Rebecca Yarros. This is by Hannah Grace. So I know a lot of people actually really hated this book. I was not one of those people. I loved this book. This book was in the same video where I read Business Casual. That video was just so good. It was just so good. But I loved this book, and I don't understand why so many people hated it, because this is a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece. I loved Henry and Hallie. That's her name. Yep, I loved Henry and Hallie, and I literally, when I tell you, Hannah Grace was writing about me, y'all. She was writing about me. She put me into Henry, and me and Hallie are the same person. I want you guys to know that. If you guys ever want to be like, who is Shania like? Like, who is she like? Hallie. Hallie is me. I'm Hallie. We are each other. Like that. That's what it is. I loved this book. I just felt so connected to this book, and maybe that's why I'm like, why didn't no one else like this book? Because I'm just so connected to these characters, because I see myself in these characters. So I don't know. The next book, The Enemy by Sarah Adams. If stickers bother you, my bad. They really, like, I don't really care if there's a sticker on it or not. It does not bother me as much as it bothers everyone else. So if that bothers you, I'm so very sorry. But The Enemy by Sarah Adams. This is an enemies to lovers, if you couldn't tell by the name. Sarah Adams really just writes banter so well. I love me some Sarah Adams banter, some Sarah Adams books in general. This was so good, and I read this. This was the first book I read after my dog passed, so it really gave me all the happy feels that I needed to get. Then we have Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, which I wasn't expecting to like this one because it's the bodyguard trope. I've said it before, I'll keep saying it, I actually hate the bodyguard trope, which is why I didn't like Twisted Games, because bodyguard, and I don't like the bodyguard trope. I don't know what it is about the bodyguard trope. I do not like it. The bodyguard trope is my accidental pregnancy. You know how everyone hates that? That's how I am with the bodyguard trope. I can't do it. So I wasn't expecting to like this, but he's not her bodyguard, so I was like, we'll see. And I really liked this. I really saw myself a lot in Annie, and how she was a little bit of a people pleaser, very like innocent in a way. People kind of see her as the goody two shoes, like all of that. So I saw myself a lot in Annie, and so I really liked this, and I really liked Will, and he has tattoos. I mean, I think it's really easy to get me with a male main character. If they have tattoos, I'm sad. So there's that one. Once again, the banter in that book, like, I feel like Sarah Adams books are the only books where I'm like sitting there like laughing out loud. Sarah Adams and Christina Lauren, those two can really like make me laugh out loud at a book, you know. Next we have Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I was really nervous about reading this book. I read this book in a video as well. Same with Practice Makes Perfect. That was in a video, but this was in a video, and it was a reading booktuber's favorite books video, and I was really nervous about reading this book because this is a super well loved book. Everyone loves this book, and I was just scared that I wasn't going to like this book and enjoy this much as the next person, which did indeed happen with one of the books in that video, but it wasn't this one. This was a 5-star. The ending absolutely broke my heart. I love Johnny and Shannon, these two. There is an age gap, but it's not a huge age gap. I think it's only 2 years, but I can see how it would make people like iffy. I personally wasn't like, I was fine with it. But I thought that this was a very deep book, and the relationship was very deep and three-dimensional. These characters were very three-dimensional, and they all had very many flaws, but also good things. Like, they felt like real people. So I really enjoyed this book. 5 stars for me. Next we have a book that I had the honor to get the ARC of, and that is We Redeem the Rain by Ashley Dill. This book I got the ARC of, and I was a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, to get this ARC, because from what I've heard about Ashley Dill's books before I read this was that her books were very sad. And this book was very sad. The things that go on in this book are very... Check your trigger warnings. That's all I'm gonna say. Check the trigger warnings. I think she might have some at the beginning of the book. She does. Content warnings. But guys, I wanted to show you this. Yeah, it's signed because I got the ARC like digitally. That's how she was giving them out originally, and we had a group chat for all of the like advanced readers, and we were all like, girl, we kind of need this like physically. So she was like, she sent us a link where we could like get it digitally or get it physically, and she signed it for me, and I am so very excited. I can't wait to like go through and highlight and annotate what I did on my phone, because that's what I was reading it on. I just can't wait to go through and do that in this book, because I still haven't done that, but I read this in like, I want to say October. It was a very long, was it that long ago? I feel like it was that long ago. It was a long time ago, and I'm just so excited to do that because this was just so good. It's very, very deep. You're talking about some really triggering, traumatic things that are happening in this book. The love story was just so beautiful. It was low-key a second chance romance, or I guess you could say childhood friends to lovers, but I would say that they were a thing back then. I don't know, but I love it. And there is going to be a second book. I think it is going to be about his brother, so I am excited to read this book. It also takes place in Texas, and if y'all don't know, I do live in the state of Texas now. So I'm not from the state of Texas, but I do live in the state of Texas, so reading any books either like based in New York or Texas are always like fun for me because I've lived in those places. So yeah, We Redeem the Rain. I don't think anyone has really talked about that book because I don't think Ashley Dill's like a super well-known author, but like, give that lady some credit. She's so good. And then I have Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. First of all, I'm so excited. I'm so happy that I have this cover of Out on a Limb. Not that I don't like the other covers. I think they're cool, but this one is just so good. And I wish she did Out of the Woods in a cover like this so they matched, but unfortunately it was just straight traditionally published, which I love that for her. But the indie published covers have my heart. Out on a Limb, Accidental Pregnancy. Need I say more? I don't think I need to say any more than that. I love an accidental pregnancy trope. I love a single parent trope. I love kids in a book. And I know a lot of people hate kids in a book. I love kids in books. Like Reckless, their kid, Heartless, Luke. What other book? There was a book that I put in this video. All Roads Lead Here, Amos. Like, I love kids in books. I think they're so cute. 7 Days of June, Audrey. Like, put the kids in the book, okay? I enjoy seeing them. I think they're so cute. And so this is Accidental Pregnancy. This was the healthiest relationship I've seen in a book. Healthiest relationship I've seen in my life, actually. So I don't know, it was just a breath of fresh air. They were communicating, they were acting like grown adults. They got put in a very unexpected, not so ideal situation, and they acted like adults and they got through it without any conflict, and I loved that. Now I will say, a lot of people were like, there's no conflict in this book. That's true. There is no conflict in this book. But sometimes you want just a nice little fluffy romance and you don't really want anything other than that. And that's what I wanted. And this is one of my favorite books. One of my favorite romance books of all time. It was so good. And this has been one of the books that made people who don't like the accidental pregnancy trope like it. So now me, I didn't need any convincing. But if you do need that convincing, yeah. We're on to, honestly, no, not really. We have 2 more books and then we have 3 books by an author. So we have Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This was in that Reading Booktubers Favorite Books. It was with Magnolia Parks and Binding 13, and this was the 3rd book in that video, Archer's Voice. I really liked this book. I really liked Archer. I feel like Archer was the most sensitive, in tune with his emotions man that I've ever read about. And I feel like we need to be making more men, like we need more male main characters that like are not afraid to show their emotions. We need more men like that in general, but like male main characters that aren't afraid to show their emotions and let the girl know how they feel. And Archer let it be known how he felt. And even though he couldn't, like, he wasn't speaking, he was very good at communicating how he felt for the most part. And then Bree, oh, poor Bree, my girl, honestly, both of them, Bree and Archer, those two, their lives, I think that they were both very troubled, not troubled and like they were like doing bad things, but like their lives and what they have gone through. I can't, like, so the fact that those two found each other and their love story, beautiful. I will be reading Travis. Yeah, hopefully he can redeem himself, but I thought that this was very beautiful. A lot of people cry at this book. I was not one of those people, which I was surprised about because I'm a crier. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a crier. And I didn't cry at this book. Who would have thought? So that was that one. Apparently this is a part of like a series. Because when I bought it, there was 2 other books that they showed me. I have yet to read those, but that one was a 5-star. And I really liked her writing. Then I have Happy Place by Emily Henry, the only 5-star I have given Emily Henry. Now, I own all of, no I don't own Great Big Beautiful Life, but other than that I own all of her books. And I read 3 of them. One of them has been a 5-star, one of them has been a 4 point, or maybe just a 4, and the other one was like a 3, and that's generous. I did not like Book Lovers. I didn't like Book Lovers. I did like Beach Read, and then Happy Place was my favorite, but I felt like this was because like you're getting so much in this book. Like it's not just the 2 main characters, like the 2 like romance characters. You're also getting the relationships between her friends, and then also her and her friends, and then Win and his friends. Like you're getting a bunch of different relationships, and it's very, very layered, and I liked that because you're getting a lot, and it's not just like surface level, because you're not just focusing on one character, you're getting the lives of everybody essentially. And I think that's what I really liked about this. I like that it was very summary, but also like it just gave me what I needed. It wasn't just pure romance, it was very much a deeper romance, even though I feel like the friendship was a big part of this book. So I feel like there was a lot of like just general fiction in there too. So I don't know, that's my favorite Emily Henry book though. And then the last is one of my favorite romance authors to ever exist, and that is indeed Miss Christina Lauren. I don't think anyone is surprised about that. I have read 3 Christina Lauren books, and I have loved 3 Christina Lauren books. I had another one, but it is a part of a series, and I have the book of the month it doesn't matter. I didn't read it. But I guess we can go in order of how I read these, because I do remember that. The first one I read was 11 Other Words by Christina Lauren. I read this book in one sitting. Sure did. I loved this book. This is childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance. If you can hear the microwave and them in the kitchen, I apologize. I'm not the only one that lives in this house, but I just loved this book. It was so easy to read. The romance, first of all, there is some miscommunication in this book, but I have said it time and time again. I think